All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to pull apart a really powerful blueprint for making real, lasting change in your life. We're deconstructing something called the 90-day challenge, which is a strategy that's all about turning your good intentions into actual, hard evidence. Let's get into it.
So let's start with a question that I think we can all relate to, right? Why is it that so many of our goals, for our health, our money, our work, they start off with this huge burst of excitement and then they just kind of fizzle out? I mean, we've all been there. And the whole problem really boils down to this one simple but incredibly powerful idea. Desire without measurement produces drift. We all want to get better. We have the desire. But if we don't have a way to actually track our progress to see if we're moving forward, we just drift. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize it's happening.
So that leads us right into our first big idea, which really sets up the core conflict here. It's this constant battle between what we want, that's our desire, where we actually end up, that's the drift, and the one thing that's usually missing, the data. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. You've really only got two types of results. On the left, you have anecdotes. Stuff like, yeah, I feel better, or I think it's working. It's all based on feeling. But on the right, you have data, real quantifiable proof, like before and after lab work. One is just a nice story, the other is cold, hard evidence. Okay, so if that's the problem, how do you fix it? How do you get from just a feeling to actual facts? Well, that's where the solution comes into play. It's a structured system called the 90-day scorecard. Now, I want you to think about this not as some product, but really as a strategic tool. The best way to describe it is a structured behavioral evaluation tool. I know, it's a mouthful, but its entire job is to take those good intentions we all have and turn them into outcomes we can literally see and measure. Any evaluation that actually works, and this one is no different, it's always got these 5 key pieces. First, you need a baseline measurement. You got to know where you're starting. Then comes the intervention. That's the stuff you're actually doing. After that, you need a follow-up measurement to see what happened. That's what gives you quantifiable change, which finally becomes your reported evidence. Simple, right? And here is how that 90-day structure breaks down. It's split into 3 really clear phases. Phase 1, the first couple of weeks, is all about getting your baseline, doing the lab work, setting your goals. Phase 2 is the long haul, weeks 3 to 10. That's implementation where you're tracking everything. And finally, phase 3 is the moment of truth. You repeat the labs and compare the results. It's a clean, simple, and super effective roadmap. But here's the thing. This framework isn't just a calendar with dates on it. No way. It's all about tapping into the psychology of proof to actually drive our behavior and make us stick with it. The big mental shift this whole thing is designed to create is what's called objective change. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's about moving away from feeling like you're making progress and moving toward knowing you are, because you have the actual verifiable data to prove it. And this slide just nails the difference between those two mindsets. On one side, you have subjective feeling. It's all about vague desires, inspiration, looking for that quick fix. On the other side, you have objective change. That's built on measurable proof, on discipline, on systems, and on evidence. One of them disappears pretty fast, the other one is built to last. So what's the magic here? Why does just measuring something make such a huge difference? Well, first, it takes that fuzzy desire and turns it into tangible proof. It also forces you to stay engaged and holds you accountable. And because you can see the numbers changing, you get a sense of progress that you can almost touch and feel. And that creates a story, a success story, that you're genuinely excited to tell other people about. Okay, so this is great for one person, right? But this whole idea gets really powerful when you think of it not just for individuals, but as a tool for leaders. Anyone who wants to create real change in their community or their company. So you might be wondering, why the focus on groups of 20 or more? What's so special about that number? Well, it turns out that's kind of the magic number for creating community momentum. It builds this shared sense of accountability, and it also gives you enough data from the whole group to tell a really powerful collective story of change. And this is so important for any leader to understand. This is not about you selling something, not at all. It's about empowering your people. The scorecard just gives you an evidence tool that you can attach to your voice, a voice that people already know and trust. It just makes your message that much more credible because you've got the results to back it up. And just look at how versatile this one idea is. For a pastor, it can create real community connection and measurable growth. For a financial advisor, it proves behavioral accountability. For a business coach, it gives you hard data to go along with your coaching. And for an HR leader, you get real, tangible metrics on the health and engagement of your workforce.
So all of this, everything we've talked about, it really boils down to one powerful, universal principle that you can pretty much apply to anything. And here it is. This is the big takeaway. Transformation without measurement is inspiration, not evidence. Let that sink in for a second. Inspiration feels amazing, but it's evidence that actually creates real, lasting change and that deep, unshakable belief.
So we'll leave you with this thought. The big lesson here is that what gets measured gets managed. It really does. So the final provocative question for you to think about is this. What in your own life, whether it's personal or professional, needs to stop being just an inspiration and start becoming evidence? What needs a scorecard?